Welcome into a brand new edition of the 06010 ESPN Communications podcast. I'm your host, Alex Feuz, and we have a very special guest on the show today, Chiney Ogwumike. Chiney, thanks so much for taking the time. First off, you are in a Halloween costume. Can you let the listeners know what you are dressed up as this is Halloween?
I'm currently Storm from X-Men. And so, yes, or I'd like to proudly say as a TV nerd, I could also be a Targaryen right now.
I love it. It's the spirit. It's the Halloween. And the funny thing is today, I was thinking today, should I wear a costume? And I said, you know what? No, I got the podcast, so I'm not going to. Now I feel left out. But anyways,
Always go for it.
I know.
Always.
Next year I will. But you are fresh off a multi-year contract extension with ESPN, and you'll have an expanded role across the NBA, WNBA, and women's college basketball. What does this mean to you to have this contract extension and a long-term deal with ESPN?
Honestly, it's such a dream come true just because I'm sitting at the intersection of hoops, both men's and women's hoops. And everyone that works at ESPN understands that sometimes your career takes a windy road. You might produce a sport you may not have thought you're going to produce, or you might take on a role. For me, I did radio at one time that you didn't expect. But to be able to come back home after being with the company for 8 years and to have a voice across basketball, I'm not just talking about women's basketball, men's basketball, NBA, to me, the role signifies that hoops is hoops. If you got game, you got game. If you appreciate basketball, you're going to fall in love with the WNBA as much as you love the NBA, as much as you love women's college basketball. And to be a voice across all those spaces, to me, has been a testament to not only, I guess a little bit of the work that I put in, knowing that like some of the things that have affected me as a professional player, injuries, turned into great opportunities for me, turned into finding my voice. And then on top of it, turned out to being uniquely positioned to be here in this moment to help storytell it. And I know at ESPN and even greater in Disney, storytelling is at the core of everything that we do. And to be able to have a voice in this time on NBA Countdown, NBA Today, Women's College Game Day, WNBA Countdown, the finals, both NBA and W, like March Madness with my girls Ellen and Andrea, to have a voice in all those spaces as someone who has just been in the locker room at the highest level, it just is literally a dream come true.
How did you find that voice?
Thank you for that question. I don't think I've ever really been asked that directly. I found the voice, first of all, it's understanding that I am an expert and trusting in that. Oftentimes as women, we feel like we have imposter syndromes, especially when I was covering for a long time the NBA. And I'd sit next to, I always tell people, Scottie Pippen and Tracy McGrady back in the day, or Kendrick Perkins and Stephen A. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I have a seat at this table. And you get a little bit of that imposter syndrome. I think realizing that I know my ish. I know the game. I know what these players are talking about. I know what these players care about. I know what direction we're going. I was on the WNBA Players Association. I know what we're fighting for. That gave me confidence. And most importantly, what gave me the most confidence is going out and, walking through LA now. And when I first started working at the company, people would not know my name. They would say, oh, aren't you that sister that played at Stanford? Or aren't you, you know what I mean? Like, I always tell people they see you before they hear you. They judge you before they know you. That's what it's like to be a woman in this space, a woman in sports, particularly sports that in me, NBA, it's a different and a unique space. But now to walk around and people say, Chiney, you know your stuff. Chiney, you are fighting for the players. Chiney, I fell in love with the WNBA because I saw you covering the NBA. The way that the script has flipped, not just for me, in my career, my voice, but also for my sport, women's basketball, to bring us all together and to have us respect and cherish the game. That is what gives me the confidence to have my voice. And then also everything comes down to preparation. I prepare. I watch the games. I talk to the players. I am so passionate about it. And maybe it's because I never thought I'd be here at this space, being a broadcaster, that makes me feel like I'm living like this. I'm in the metaverse. I'm in a different universe. But that allows me every day to attack the day with joy, with relentless passion, and to leave the game better than it was before. And that's what I try to do here at ESPN as well.
You're the first person to be a full-time analyst and also playing at the same time. What lessons did you learn from that experience?
Wow, what lesson did I learn from that experience? I learned that you have to trust your gut. At the time, no one was really, there were not Draymond Greens and Candace Parkers, and even like Carly Lloyd's out there speaking the game and playing it full time. And I questioned myself because sometimes you feel like, okay, you're told in your sport, you have to give everything to your sport in order to get the best results. I was also dealt injuries. I was dealt adversity. But as a woman, we understood, particularly when I got drafted in 2014, you know what? We have to be so much more. We can't just rely on our paychecks at the time. We have to diversify. We have to build businesses. We have to be leaders in our communities. And for me, that just, I think it was by nature of getting drafted to the Connecticut Sun, going on a car wash at ESPN after I was a number one pick, building relationships within the company, even then. Like, you never know where you go and you meet someone, and that situation can change your life. By being drafted to Connecticut, getting injured, meeting people at ESPN when I was a top pick, it created a pathway where people were like, we see something in you. Why don't you come back? We like your voice. We value your voice. Your voice is needed. You're young. You're representing this shift that is going to happen 10 years later to where we are now. So I think what allowed me to be first is just being a little bit fearless, understanding that I am occupying a space where my representation matters, and believing that the tide will change, the tide will shift. And to see that 10 years later it actually did, and trusting the process brought me all the way here. And I'm looking at myself and I'm like, oh my God, how do I take myself seriously with this wig on? But it's just beautiful. And I'm just excited and thrilled and want to keep growing, want to keep learning. And I cannot wait I feel like we're at that moment where everything is changing, and to be at the center of it here, like, pinch me.
Before we get back to your career for a second, I have to ask about your sister Nneka. How do you
Sure.
motivate each other?
How do we what?
How do you motivate each other?
I always tell people that my big sister is not a role model. She's more than that. She's a goal model for me. She sets a goal and she achieves it. But the difference between what I've experienced, what people think, oh, you guys are 4 girls, the Ogwumike sisters that play basketball, you must have had those crazy backyard battles. I was like, no, we did not. My first experience with basketball was I was too afraid to play because I like doing things that I'm good at. That's why I don't go bowling. That's why I don't play video games. It's because I want to step out there and be the best. And we went out there and we were not that. But we did have natural abilities. We were tall, we were athletic, but still, my sister went out there. She played in that first basketball practice. I was 9. She was like 11, 10 or 11. And she was the worst in the gym, but she saw something in that. She saw the path of improvement, competitive fire, camaraderie. I went and hid in the bathroom. But every night the next year, after her practices in our long driveway in Houston, Texas, she used to get the ball. Me and my sisters, 3 of us, we play 1-on-3, but she would teach us, this is how you dribble, this is how you cross over, this is what a follow through looks like. So I've learned a huge lesson from that. Not only that basketball and work and professionalism is sisterhood, but it's also that women have so much more power when we are collaborative than being competitive. And so by Nneka going to Stanford, I knew that my path would probably take me there. By her being a number 1 pick, I knew my path would probably take me to achieving a level of greatness because I had someone that was giving me the playbook because she wanted me to win. And so, like, understanding that sports, that sisterhood, to me, anytime I see a woman or I see a young person or the next generation, we all have to win, and it takes all of us moving together, and that's the power of my older sister. Now she's a WNBA champion and MVP, a 11-time All-Star. I'm only a 2-time All-Star. I never got champion, but she's made such a big impact in the space that she occupies by inspiring, motivating, and elevating. And that's all I know. That's all I know my whole life. And I give a lot of credit to her.
What future goals do you have? Like, if you could pinpoint one thing that you want to accomplish in sports media, what would that be?
I want to keep expanding my voice. There are 3 E's that I really think are core values to me. 1, education, going to Stanford, being the first generation born and raised in Houston, Texas, of Nigerian parents. If you know Nigerians, they don't play about education. So everything that I do, I try to educate. to bring people together, because I played a sport where people did not know so much about it in the mainstream. So I was always using opportunities and visibility to educate. Next is entertain. I like to have fun. I like to be me. For a while when I first started on ESPN, I thought I had to be like the cookie cutter. Hey, welcome, because I was doing Sports Center International. I was like, change my voice. Welcome to Sports Center. I'm your girl, Chiney Ogwumike, and this is what we got for you. It's like, that does not sound like me. I was wearing outfits that like that. I mean, don't judge me by this, but I was wearing outfits that was like, that does not look like me. I need to represent my identity in everything that I do, my voice, my passion, my outfits, my connections, so like to me, that was entertaining, doing things my way authentically, because that's the only thing that can separate you being you, not trying to be someone else. So it's education, it's entertaining, but most importantly, I guess the thing that's most dear to my heart is elevating. Leave the space better than what you had it before. Elevate the product. And for me, my goal is to continue to use my voice to increase my skill set. I came in as, an analyst, and then I was a host for Sports Center International. Then I went back to a co-host for radio, and then I went to analyst again, and now I'm analyst again in women's college basketball, analyst in NBA analyst in WNBA, women's college basketball. I think to me, my goal is to continue to host, to expand, because that's all I've called games. That's the one area that I think is being versatile. We talk about basketball. The number one quality you can be as a basketball player is being positionless. I want to be able to do what is necessary, master every skill. And for me, hosting has been the growth point for me. And and I don't think many athletes step into that vulnerable side, that vulnerable chair, but being able to drive conversation to, whether it is to your viewer or to someone you're interviewing or to your colleagues, but then also deliver information, but also make people feel better and inspire joy and let people know what they need to know. That's like all my core principles. So my goal is to continue advancing myself, my skill set, and then also hopefully create platforms for us to fill in the gaps. We talk so much of the treetops of the NBA, or we're educating people to women's college basketball, but there's so many sports fans that have so many passions. There are 30 teams in the NBA. There's going to be 13 next year in the W, and I think 15 after that, and then 16 after that in those years to come. Like, sports fans, it's so different. Like, you don't, and I know I'm rambling, but when we grew up, we had the doubleheader, and those are the teams that we saw, typically 4 every other night or so. Now sports fans can consume and have favorite players like Jared McCain because he's famous on TikTok for the Philadelphia 76ers, or just like, unique people. The entry points are so different. And so to serve those fans while we also do our job and serve the company, that is the greatest opportunity that I'm focused on right now.
Chiney, I know we got to wrap up soon, but this is my favorite part of the interview. It's a fast 5 quick round. It's going to be 5 quick questions.
And don't judge me for holding scissors. I'm like working on my Halloween costume as we're talking. So don't think I'm like crazy or anything.
Oh, no, I know. First memory of ESPN.
Okay, quick story. I was injured. I was injured after playing in China in 2016. Tore my Achilles. The 2 years prior, I had right knee microfracture surgery. Lowest of low of my athletic career after being an all-star once. And my daily routine was waking up, watching CNN, watching the news, and then afterward, I would flip onto First Take and watch Stephen A. just go crazy. Not at that time being a full-time employee, just dabbling in sports media, even working for the Pac-12 at that time. I always tell people the power of positivity is I had no clue that within a year later, I'd be at the desk debating Stephen A. Smith. That's when you say, yes, you're relentless about your passions, your voice, and I was injured, but that gave me time to find a new career. And so that is my first memory. And it's still to this day, Stephen A. knows. He was like, yo, Chiney, I see you.
If you could host a podcast with anyone in your phone contacts, who would you choose?
Oh, wow. Wow. This is a tricky one. If I could host a podcast with anyone. Don't have Beyonce's phone number. Don't have, I'm like going with my goals. Honestly, it's going to be a simple answer. I know we could go the celebrity route. My sister. But she's booked and busy leading the Players Association and being an all-star for the Seattle Storm. But I would love to do something about my sisterhood and sisters, yeah.
Who's inspired you most at ESPN?
I would say the countless women, probably Doris Burke. One of my goals is to be one of the first or few females, women. Oh, hey, one of my goals is to be one of the first or few women or female broadcasters to win a sports Emmy. And I'm not saying that I care about it that much. It's just more so women have voices and have been serving. And I think Doris is more as an analyst is more than deserving. Mina Kimes, when she got nominated last year, I was like, she's more than deserving. To be exceptional in that space as a woman to me is amazing. And so I look up to a lot of the women in the company, particularly Doris. I love Mina. Cassidy Hubbard has been amazing. Elle Duncan is phenomenal. My sister Andreas, like the list goes on and on. I work with Malika every day. So the women inspire me, but on top of it, all the bosses that have also believed in the vision and believed in my voice, from Dave Roberts being the one to say, Chiney, go on first take, Jimmy Pitaro, who never said there's no as an option, like yes, but let's figure out how we can make a timeline, getting to know Burke Magnus, working with Hillary Guy, even my guy Demetrius, who produces women's college basketball and the WNBA, like all these people have had roles in seeing power and my voice and been advocates in those rooms. And to be a part of it. I mean, Terrell Bruza, who works with us on Countdown, like there's so many teammates that I have that I love, but let me just shout out the ladies. Doris is an icon, a GOAT, a legend. Mina is my friend, and I would love to see women start getting recognized in those spaces. And why not make a goal and try to achieve it? If you miss, like you shoot for the moon, you land amongst the stars. And so I've always been inspired by those women.
Number 4, I heard that you are a Dodger fan. This is the day after the Dodgers won the World Series. How fun was this playoff run post MLB postseason for you as a fan to just enjoy it?
I am thrilled. Sorry for all the Yankees fans out there, but I came to LA and my agent, her name is Allison Gaylor. Think about this. When I was 22 as a number 1 pick, I chose to sign with a 24-year-old who started her own sports agency. And she's a badass woman, y'all. She reps Lisa Leslie, Benijah Lane, who just won a WNBA championship, Kelsey Mitchell, who plays with Caitlin Clark, and the Fever, Crystal Dunn, U.S. women's national team, whatever. But I guess my point is that when I came to LA full-time in 2019, her family became my family. And her family is connected not only to the Sparks and the Lakers, but also to the Dodgers. So that was my first ever MLB experience, going to a couple of those games. I've been able to, I think, did I throw out the first pitch? I definitely have. Today's Halloween. I had a choice. Do I wear my Dodger jersey or do I wear my Storm costume? I was like, there'll be another time for me to wear my Dodger jersey. It's been great to see the city come alive. I was working NBA Countdown last night and we were sitting here and all of a sudden we heard screaming. We're like, oh my gosh, the World Series, like the game's on while we were watching our games. And to be a part of a moment like this, a team that was excellent and just dominated, and to have personal connections to them, being in their dugout, getting to meet Mookie. I mean, Shohei is phenomenal. And being inspired by Freddie Freeman playing his best ball at the right time. Sorry to Yankees fans again. I love the fact that we were having Yankees Dodgers, but for it to be in LA being my sort of home away from home, new home, I'm happy for the city.
And Chiney, the last question for you. What do you want to be remembered for?
Oh, and by the way, I'm Houston. So I'm Houston through and through, like Stros, Rockets, all that, Texas. But right now, we're talking about LA.
Yeah.
What do I want to be remembered for? I want to be remembered for inspiring. I'll just tell you this. My name, people are still trying to figure it out at times, but I think more people know it now. My name is Chiney Ogwumike, but my name is truly Chinenye Joy Nenna Ogwumike. And my name means, in my culture, Igbo heritage, Nigerian, Chinenye means God gives. My middle name is Joy. So I believe that God gives joy. My goal is to provide joy in every space that I enter, to inspire others. And Ogwumike means actually warrior, or in literal translation, he who does not tire, she who does not tire. So I like to bring joy, and I will never be tired of providing that. And I'll keep working until, I don't know, like I'm just someone who never tires. I keep going and going, and I do it because I love it. And ESPN has been that perfect place for me. And I want to shout you out because I've done a lot of podcasts and interviews, and this one has been very heartfelt for me. And your questions were phenomenal. And yeah, like I appreciate your thought and your care in all of this.
Oh, it's been so much fun. It's been a blast. Nice meeting you. Thanks for coming on the podcast, and thanks for taking the time while you get prepared with your costume. I appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for understanding, and apologies to anyone who's watching all of this. But look, I'll show
It's
you
the
what my
behind the
final look
scenes. So now you got to watch, the
at the
shows
A today.
today and see you, and then you'll see the behind the scenes of it all.
I'm showing you this. I'm making my little belt buckles, and I'm gonna put a little like X on it. I'm gonna making my little belt buckles to go with my storm
I love it.
costume.
That's
Thank
awesome.
you so much.
Nay, thank you.